Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to the Lucid Collective podcast. Today we'll be talking about dream guides, what they are, what they do, and my first run-in with mine that wasn't actually my first run-in. According to Wikipedia, the basic definition of a dream guide is a spirit guide active during dreams, particularly during fully lucid dreams. But like everything else with dreams, no one can really settle on what a dream guide is exactly. Some say it's pretty much any dream character that helps to give you personal insight or guidance in any way, while others use this term to refer to a single reoccurring dream character that acts as a guide and helps you grow in your lucid dreaming journey. Some people have reported being connected to the same dream guide for their whole life. They see this as a separate and wiser entity coming to help you journey through your own dream world, while others see this as simply a part of your subconscious mind helping to guide and direct you to give you insight about yourself and your life. Whatever they are, they seem to be present in many vivid dreamers' internal worlds. And although you can never meet them in your waking life necessarily, many have made and maintained deep connections with these dream characters or separate entities throughout their whole entire lives. I had never really thought about this concept before because I'd never experienced it, or at least I hadn't remembered experiencing it. But I've heard the term thrown around at least a couple times before, but I've never really thought anything about it until I met mine, because I just thought, well, like, it's bullshit if it hasn't happened to me. And it honestly kind of seems like bullshit, I guess, but yeah, this dream is really interesting and definitely changed my whole opinion on that. So yeah, most of this episode is going to be me talking about the dream, and I might do another episode going deeper into like more about what a dream guide is, but this episode already talks a lot about what a dream guide is, like through my lens, I guess, my point of view through this dream that I had. Yeah, I'm sure there's like a lot more to it, which maybe in the future I'll dive deeper into this world. Obviously, I'm gonna try to learn more about this because I had this experience. So yeah, maybe you'll see more episodes about this in the future, but for now it's gonna be centered around this dream that I had. If you're interested in dream guides whatsoever, definitely stick around for it. It literally poses the question of whether or not separate entities can communicate with us through our dreams and actually like be there like in this separate space and interact with us. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting one. Stick around. Okay, so now I'll go into the dream, and it's pretty long, but stick with it because it's so interesting and there are just like many different layers to this. So, okay, I'll start. The wildest thing about this is that I completely even forgot that I had this dream until I was in the shower, which I'll give a little side note is where most of my forgotten dreams bubble back up to the surface. And I think this is due to like the loud white noise that the shower head produces, and obviously like the warm water. It just like puts me into a deep meditation and like unconscious trance, even if I don't realize that it's happening. Like I'm just taking a shower like normal, but like this is just something that happens. And I think it's also something that happens to everyone. Everyone gets those shower thoughts that are really deep and profound, and they get insight when they're in the shower. I think that it's due to like this white noise that gets produced that's like overwhelming, and it produces the vibration of like the water pounding on the floor, and you're like covered in warm water and or cold water, whichever one you prefer. And it really does induce like a, I think it's transcendental sometimes, but like definitely a meditative state that it produces. And this is just like a natural thing, like it's a human experience when like people shower, like your mind gets like opened up because it like puts you in this unconscious state of mind and you're not being distracted by anything else. But anyways, the shower, it puts me into a state where like anything can surface, like insight or ideas or dreams from that night or the morning. So if I do forget a dream, odds are that I'll at least get like a brief little flash of what I dreamt the night before. Sometimes that flash is all you need to trigger a memory and bring that whole dream back up into your mind. So, with that being said, I will start reading from my journal now. And it's kind of jumbled, but we'll just go for it. I still don't remember everything. I can feel that the dream was longer and it had more to it than what I pulled out, but I remember it was extremely vivid. And it was one of those dreams that felt more real than waking life. It was an exploration dream. I was in the jungle searching for something that was lost. And it looked like South America, and I've been there many other times in my dreams, a few of which I've written down. But in this dream, I had a dream guide, and in my mind, I knew him to be my lucid dreaming teacher. He had met me in my dreams and taught me the ways for a long time. And a lot of this information I'm pulling from thoughts that I was having while I was in the dream. So I only know what went through my head while I was in this dream. And I didn't think of when we started to meet or any of the other times he'd met me. So I don't know any of the details of when we started meeting each other. I just know it felt like a long time, like a really long time. He felt so familiar, like I'd known him my whole life. And in this dream, like I was alone exploring the jungle for pretty much the entire dream when I heard something behind me and I turned around. And when I turned around, he was standing there, like his legs were crossed and his hand was resting above his chin and he was looking up at me, giving this like cheeky little smile. And my heart just like immediately overflowed with joy. And my instant thought was like, oh my God, thank God you're here. Like I missed you so much. And also while simultaneously immediately becoming lucid in that dream, the moment upon seeing him appear. And we talked for a bit, most of which I can't remember enough to feel confident in writing down. But I continued on my way. But now I'm going with lucidity to like really explore and experience all of these things in this beautiful old growth jungle around me. And I was really excited to go on this lucid hike because I knew that my physical body was in the Arizona desert. But over time, I kept losing lucidity and I was walking and getting kind of distracted, but then he would show up again beside me and I would instantly be back to being fully lucid. And this would go on a couple of times of me losing lucidity or even just like slightly losing it until he was in my line of sight again, and then I would gain that lucidity back. The first few minutes we walked side by side, but then he was kind of letting me go ahead of him to do my own thing and like learning for myself. And then only when I needed him would he kind of walk ahead and give me a look saying like, hey, stay focused. Sometimes he would even verbally remind me if I got like really distracted or disassociated from the dream. But for the most part, he was a man of few words. And after this went on for a while, he kind of motioned me to climb over this big rock wall covered in vines. So I did, and when I reached the top, this huge gust of wind hit me, and this huge light shined down, and I saw these insanely beautiful ruins of like an old overgrown temple with a river running through it and huge columns and hieroglyphs carved into every open space on the stone walls. And I looked back at my dream guide with like the face of absolute utter amazement and awe, and all he did was like smile and shake his head up and down and be like, yeah, like I know this is the fucking coolest place ever, right? And this went on, like I went in to explore this temple, but I don't really remember much of that. Like I remember lying in the river in the water, and it felt amazing, and it was just like so beautiful and so surreal, and this whole part was lucid. Like it was amazing. But this correlates with a lot of other dreams that I've had, and I think it may be connected in some kind of way, maybe through the dream guide, I don't know, but they all look and feel so similar. Like I'm traveling a long way to a sacred place, and when I finally get there, it feels like home. And a lot of the dreams, I stumble upon them by accident. Most of the dreams seem like Egyptian ruins and Mayan or Aztec. Even when I dream of Egypt, sometimes it's in the jungle, or I don't know, for some reason, I don't know, it just goes into this weird and beautiful mashup. But anyways, back to the dream guide. I don't think there's any way that this is just like for the storyline of the dream, because he literally triggered something in my brain the moment I saw him, every time. Like that doesn't just happen. Like I know how lucidity works, and like I know how it sparks up within me while I'm dreaming, and that's not it. Like this was not something that I was doing. Like it was weird, but I instantly recognized him, and I knew that I had seen him in my dreams before. Like I was seeing my old friend, and I literally called him by name when he showed up. So it's crazy for me. Like I'm so bad at remembering someone's name in real life, so I can't even imagine me remembering someone's name in the dream world of all places. And like out of all of the dreams that I've ever recorded, not one of my dream characters is given a name. They never introduce themselves with a name, and I never ask, because that's just not how my brain works, especially my subconscious. And I immediately knew who he was. Like I called him by name while I was fully my conscious self. And of course, upon waking, I forgot his name because my brain does not lock that shit in. But it was something normal and short, like Brian. And I remember thinking that I was really happy when he showed up in this particular dream, so that I'd have more of a chance of actually fully immersing myself into that environment, because my mind knew that his presence equaled lucidity. And I don't think that I can remember his face, what his face looked like exactly, but it was very normal, like no distinctive features that stood out. And he had short, dark, almost black hair. He wore the most basic and normal clothes, just like a blue t-shirt and jeans. And I don't know, it's just so funny that it's kind of wild that this dream completely slipped from my mind upon waking. And I just happened to remember a flash and brought the rest up, like, but it could have been gone. And I don't know, another dream that I had that was extremely similar to this one, I only did get a single flash and nothing else came up. So it's just strange how these types of dreams try to slip from my consciousness. And even now, like after meditating on this for over 30 minutes, it still fades away unless I tune back in. It kind of feels like I wasn't supposed to remember him, like it was a glitch or something. I would have just remembered the jungle exploration and the temple if it hadn't been for the remembrance of that lucid thought, that one lucid thought I had regarding him. And was able to see him in that recollection and remember that, knowing that I had that he was my teacher. But other than that, he would have been left out of the dream altogether. Like, I felt like it was some random glitch that happened that led me to remembering him. And once I remembered him, I was like, oh shit, I know this guy. Like, he's been in many of my dreams before, so it makes me feel like, yeah, like I've been forgetting these dreams my whole life. I think it's interesting how he was the most normal person that my brain could think of. A normal, nondescript face, short brown haircut, solid color shirt, blue jeans. And I think it's interesting because there's this sort of like under talked about phenomena that happens. It's obviously not proven, but like people talk about it, that sometimes when an extra dimensional being that is nothing like us, they'll try to take on a form that we can recognize and something that won't like frighten us and something that we can understand, like that our brains will literally like register, when they're appearing to us. This goes as far back as biblical times when the angels are appearing and they say like do not be afraid, and they're in like human form, when like also the Bible explains them as having like seven like intertwining spheres and rings with eyes on them, and like like biblical angels are like described to be pretty out there beings, but yet like they're personified as humans so that like we can understand them. But yeah, like people experience this in like deep meditations and like trips and stuff. Like they'll ask these entities like, do you really look like this? And they'll say no, like this is just like what you can understand me as, And I just think it's funny that he is like the most normal you can get, as to say like, hey, I'm not a threat to you, just a normal dude over here. And like he seemed so warm and fun, and like I had literally known him my whole entire life, and probably definitely longer. And this was my lucid mind that was thinking this way, like my conscious mind recognizing him and having that sigh of relief that he had shown up to aid me in the dream. And I knew exactly why he was there. It was the first time that I had gone immediately lucid from something other than my thoughts alone, or the first time that I remembered it, at least. Because this dream almost slipped through my fingers, like completely. And I do feel like I was supposed to forget this, but my dream recall is getting so good that I felt the shape of some sort of amazing experience that I had, and I knew that there was something in there. So literally when I was in the shower, I was trying so hard, like I was tracing back my steps, and I went through this maze in my mind. I finally excavated a thought that I had in the dream where I thought to myself, I need to remember this time. And of course that made me way more determined. And then I remember seeing this visual flash of the actual dream, and I realized how insanely vivid it was. And eventually I saw the temple and the jungle, and normally I would have stopped there, but I'm like, no, like, what did I want to remember about this? Like, I knew there was something more. So finally, like, after a lot of sitting there and like meditating on like going inside of my mind, I remembered that lucid thought of, oh my God, you're here. And I was able to see the image of me turning around in the jungle to see him just standing there smiling at me, and the whole dream flooded back. But it could have been gone. It took me like 30 minutes of deep meditation to pull that out. after I had gotten out of the shower. Like if I had just started my day like normal, I definitely would not have remembered it. I probably would have gotten like a flash of the jungle and maybe the temple, but like no, it was I know myself and that dream was hidden deep in my mind. And yeah, it could have just been a coincidence because I forget a lot of dreams. And the past few years, I've realized that I also forget a big portion of my lucid dreams as well, which sucks, but we'll talk about that in a different episode. But this one felt different and it had a different energy to it. And it was so cool. Like, I want to remember another one, but I felt like I had almost been given a gift or something by being able to recall it. Or like it was finally time for me to remember like a little seed being planted. Yeah, I don't know, but now I feel connected to him in waking life too. And it's probably crazy to think that there are other beings out there who are totally into giving their time to help you out and like literally be your friend and have this like long-term mentor relationship with you, even though you're just like a little human and you'll never meet them in like what we call like real life. But it's okay if people think I'm crazy because I know Brian is real, okay? But I don't know. Anyway, a huge part of me wonders if like this is why I was such a natural avid lucid dreamer when I was so young. Like not even knowing what lucid dreaming was, just assuming that it was normal to do like almost every night and like being so excited to go to bed at night because my dream world was like a huge part of my waking world. Like I wanted to go back like every night and go to these places and like do these things like lucidly. Like it was an amazing time. Obviously, I don't have lucid dreams every night anymore, but like I wonder, a part of me wonders if like that's because I've had this teacher this whole time and I just haven't been able to remember him until now. I don't know. But it was a really weird experience. And like, I've literally never thought about this before. So that's what's like kind of wild about it to me. And like, it makes a big impression because I don't feel like I just like created this story because like I've heard it before or like I saw a show about it or something. Like, I've heard the term before, but like I didn't know it had anything to do with lucid dreaming specifically. And then like I look it up because obviously I have this crazy dream and I'm like, well, fuck. That's interesting, isn't it? Anyways, that long ramble was just a lesson in dream recall because it's not always easy. Like, it doesn't always just instantly flood back into your memory once you wake up. Sometimes you can, of course, let a dream go, but if you do want to get that back once it leaves your mind when you after you wake up, if you forget it, it's still there in your mind. You can pull it back out. And the sooner you can unlock that puzzle and get that image out, the more likely your chances are of doing it in the first place. And it takes practice and training, but it can be done. And of course, you don't always have to decode everything in your mind every morning. Like, it's not that big of a deal. I let most of my dreams go that don't naturally vividly come to me upon waking, just because they usually don't feel very important. So I don't need to use up my mental energy in that way. But sometimes I know that I've had like a really important dream and I can't seem to remember it. But in cases like that, the training comes in handy. But even then, it's not always reliable. And I know how weird and almost like unsettling it feels to know that you were just having a crazy dream, or like you were somewhere else, like experiencing something different, but you can't remember anything about it upon waking. And there are a lot of different ways to train your mind to have better dream recall, but a lot of the times it just comes down to sitting there and meditating on it and going back into your mind and putting yourself back into that unconscious, subconscious state of mind and letting go of whatever is in your mind and letting whatever comes up come up and just following what feels right. And you'll know when something triggers a memory or like a visual flash or a thought that you had when you were in the dream, and then go deeper into that. And even if you think that you've seen most of the dream, odds are there's more to it. And if you push harder, you can unlock the next door and see more and go deeper. And obviously not everyone is that interested in their dream life that they would spend all this time and energy, mental energy, on this. But if you do want to learn more about your dream life and you're discouraged because you're experiencing a block, I'm just here to tell you, don't worry and stick with it. You can do it, even though it may take some work and it may take some time, but it's totally doable. Life is long and we have a long time to figure this shit out. And if you keep working on it, eventually you will break through and it will get way easier. But if you want to learn about your dream life, that starts with having good dream recall. So yeah, moral of the story is that it's not always easy, but it can be done. So there is hope, and don't give up if you feel called to dream work. So I think I'm gonna probably leave it at that, and in the future I'll do another episode about like dream guides that's more research based. But yeah, I don't want it to get too long, and I don't know, you've heard enough probably, so I'll just stop. But yeah, please let me know if you have any dream stories that you would like to share. My Instagram, which you can contact me on, is lucid.sight.co, lucid.cight.co, and please message me any dreams you'd like to share. I really want to do like a listener stories episode, so anything dream related, like sleepwalking, sleep paralysis, dream stories, obviously. If you think you have a dream guide or have met them before, please tell me everything. I want to know it all. I can keep it anonymous. You can tell me not to share it on the podcast if you like. But if you don't specify, then I'm probably gonna like put it in my archives and eventually do an episode, like a listener story episode. So yeah, please message me. I would love you forever, because I've been wanting to do one for a while, but I only have like 2 or 3 dreams from people, and yeah, I want like a bulk of dreams that I can use. So anyways, I'll stop rambling, but thank you again for listening to another episode of the Lucid Sight Collective podcast, and I will talk to you later. Goodbye. Hey, it's me again. Just stopping in to say that I spelled my username wrong, and sight is actually S-I-G-H-T, not C-I-G-H-T, obviously. So, yeah, give me a holler, let me know what you're thinking, and have a good day.